Welcome back to another Netfix original on the EKK swap. This is episode 3 and we're going to break it down into multiple different parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, so on. This is going to be the best episode for all you K-swappers out there because we're going to get into the nitty gritty on your radiator, on your shifter, on your steering rack, way we went, what we ran into, what we threw away and did not have, and how to go about all those extra accessory components on your K-swap. So follow along, and we're going to be short and sweet on exactly what we did and what we found hard and how we solved that. Keep on watching. K-swap episode 3, tips and tricks, part 1, part 2, part 3, on all the things you need to know to get your vehicle driving smooth. Part 1, coolant system for your EKK K-swap. We're going to go over the cooling system that we are installing on our K-swap on the 2000 Civic CX Hatchback. Hybrid Racing makes the kit that we're going to use. It has the radiator, it has the hoses that all fit together. You can reuse your CX radiator, the half size. You can also use your RSX radiator, the full size. We don't have the small nitty-gritty tips and tricks on installing those two platforms. We do know how to install the hybrid racing kit. So follow along and we're going to show you what we ran into and how we made it work. So basically you just want to make sure you stick with one kit and try and use that kit for all the different components. This is the full size hybrid racing radiator. It has your lower hose connection, your upper hose, your overflow, has a drain plug, and has a couple little ports. So we messed up and we cut off our AC brackets. This vehicle did not have air conditioning, but the frame still had the air conditioning brackets that we cut off because we were trying to make the engine bay have as least amount of pieces in it and nicely painted. So we ended up having to get just some little brackets. You can make them up or do whatever you want. And we just riveted those on with these bushings and she's pretty good. The top mounts aren't quite done yet, but we also threw away our lower bushings from our original half-size radiator. Good thing is the RSX does have these bushings on its radiator. So we were able to reuse those without having to go and find any other radiator bushings. Show you what we did on the top now. These brackets you can make yourself or you can purchase from Hybrid Racing. You can purchase off Amazon just a K-swap bracket kit. And then we were able to fit these bushings that were on the RSX for the AC section of its mounting, and they worked like a hot darn. We still haven't quite figured out our top mount here, but these are some cheap Amazon special brackets for a top mount. They don't quite fit perfectly, and these holes are very sloppy. They can be sloppy, but I feel like that's just a little too sloppy in our mind. So we're not sure, we're probably not gonna use those. Dax does like this little bracket here. It is a bit sloppy also, but it holds the radiator away from hitting here, which is nice. This bracket and our two lower radiator AC side brackets came in one kit, and we were able to use those two. We had to mod them and cut them a bit to fit, and then we also had to, we had to cut those off because they wouldn't fit in the rail, and then drill them out of hole just so we could have 2 rivets in there instead of 1. We're not sure. We might try and get one more of these brackets on this side because it does look pretty decent. I would say get as many different bushings and cheap pieces that you can to try and make whatever work because it's a little bit finicky. There might be a better way to do it, but we never came across it. So your CX radiator overflow tank mounts to the radiator right here. We do not have that anymore, and this is the RSX overflow, which doesn't look the greatest, and we can't find a nice place to put it. So online you can pick up many different style of overflow tanks that will match your build, so we recommend doing that. And we'll show you that on another video. So we're gonna bring you over to our engine here with our cooling system pieces. We haven't figured it all out, but we figured some of it out. You can reuse your OE coolant neck or whatever control fucking manifold, I don't know. What we do know is that this is for your idle air control valve. This goes from your intake manifold to the inlet air before your throttle body. And then they want you to remove this piece and install a temperature sensor here, because the temperature sensor that runs on your K20A2 head here does not translate to your cluster for your gauge. This is a 2-wire, and they want you to put a 1-wire piece in for when we do the wiring harness. So we haven't figured that out exactly yet. We do know that we need to get a thermistor sensor in here that is a 1-wire for that. Hopefully we get that to you in one of the episodes later in this series. If you're just gonna reuse this, ours was just so nasty we didn't want to reuse it. As you can tell, the corrosion is ridiculous. Yeah, just put that temp sensor here, follow the wiring diagram that they give you for the harness, and you should be good to go. We bought this off AliExpress because it was extremely cheap. It seems decent, like the billet is not bad. I mean, there's a few little rough spots in there and a couple pieces that might look like, if you don't set it up just right, you might damage the seals, but we're gonna give her a solid A effort, be able to let you know how this piece works out. But basically, this is just gonna mount to our head here, right beside our intake manifold. You can have a filler neck, overflow nipple. There's also a port here that you can install basically installs a nipple for you to be able to run a hose from the backside to your heater hose lines. And then basically, I believe this just goes to our radiator. This guy comes down to after our thermostat, or before our thermostat. And then the hose off of our thermostat goes down to our lower radiator hose. We decided to use hybrid racing. Radiator has a better design for the lower radiator hose routing, or when you get that kit that comes with it, so it's not doesn't have any crazy bends or fittings that you need to retro in there. This is also AliExpress thermostat. The internal thermostat piece does look different. This is our original thermostat, which you can reuse. We don't need this. You do not need it. It just sits there the same, basically. It doesn't have any ports. This has more ports in it that maybe we can put sensors in. And the thermostat in here looks like a normal thermostat. It doesn't have this double spring style, but I think it should still be fine. We'll find out if she flows all the time, or if she flows when we want it to flow. So that's that for our thermostat and our intake neck, or whatever the fuck Dax calls it. Throttle neck, throttle gooseneck, surge, trailer, towing, capacity, love it. And the one benefit of this thermostat assembly, or whatever the hell you want to call it, sounds like that's what I'm saying all the time these days.
Housing.
What's that?
Housing.
Housing. This aluminum thermostat housing, the benefit, as long as it doesn't leak, which it's cheap, so it might leak, is that this entire piece here swivels, and when you tighten it down, it holds it tight, which will help you if you're trying to use more of a Frankenstein cooling system. Hopefully these helped you with the cooling system. Keep on watching our K-swap. We haven't quite obviously installed it and seen how it works, so later in our episodes, if there's any questions that you have, hopefully we'll answer those questions in those episodes. So thanks for watching this episode 3, part 1 of our K-swap on the cooling system. Subscribe, like, comment down below. We appreciate all the feedback, good or bad. Let's get communicating. Our two pieces, our thermostat housing and our gooseneck, you can get from K-Tune. They are basically identical, probably.
And a lot more money.
They're just a lot more money, but they probably maybe are better, they maybe not better, we don't know. That's why we went with AliExpress and give her a solid A for effort. And what we did purchase at K-Tune was our 2 hoses. They are identical basically to the original hoses, they just replaced them. They're not old and brittle and potentially gonna leak. And also the one that comes off of the back of our thermostat that goes up to that filler neck piece. We just haven't received it yet, but we bought those off K-Tune and they fit perfectly.